And welcome to News Toter. I'm your host, TC, short for the curator. If you have not been to newstoter.com, please go ahead and go to our site. Newstoter.com is the ultimate curator of black news, entertainment, lifestyle, culture, politics in this country. And also, please go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. We just started a new rebranding of this channel. All old videos we had, we have gotten rid of, and now we're going with the entire new clean slate. And this is going to be our first video, and it is titled "NYPD's Unreporting of Stop-And-Frisk Continues Along with Severe Racial Disparities." This article was also published by Black Star News, a black-owned newspaper in New York, and it was curated by the newstoter.com platform. The NYPD cannot solve a problem when it does not understand its scale, said Omar Fahar, senior staff attorney at the Center for Constitutional Rights. And just like prior reports, this monitor report confirms that widespread underreporting persists, possibly masking significant ongoing racial disparity in the use of stop and frisk on black and brown New Yorkers by the NYPD. It's always black and brown. Why we never just, when it's an article about black people, why is it never just about black people? Always, want to know that. I guess that's another story for another day. Until the city corrects this threshold problem, we cannot have confidence that the court order reforms are having their intended impact. Listen, we can't have trust, period, when it comes to NYPD Blue. Period. This isn't something that just started yesterday. The stop and frisk, they were so dead set. That's when you had the uprising in 2020. You heard, oh, we have to bring back stop and frisk, and it'll put the good niggers and separate the bad niggers and all this other garbage. Stop and frisk is directly targeted to black people. I guarantee. I know they're saying black and brown, and that's not to say you don't have brown people that's targeted. It's not to say you don't have brown people that have been arrested and going to be arrested and harassed. But the bulk of the people going to be harassed are black people. I know it. You know it. Most importantly, they know it. And that's why they want to do this. That's why they want to go ahead and bring it back. The good old days. The latest monitor report indicates that despite all the reform efforts that have been made by the NYPD over the last 8 years, the same problem exists. There's still racial disparity in who gets stopped. The sad fact is that in the city of New York, 8 years after the finding of liability by the court, the NYPD is still engaged in racial profiling in how it conducts stops and frisks, said co-counsel Jonathan Moore of Bedlick Levin Huffman LLP. 8 years, as if the proof wasn't already in the pudding, we had to come back and see. And guess what? 8 years from now, ain't nothing gonna change. Not one iota of it's gonna change. And 8 years from that time, nothing's gonna change. You see, nothing's gonna change until you get real reform. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and say, well, where's the change and what's gonna happen? Nothing's gonna happen because they don't want anything to happen. You play the same game. You can't keep pumping in billions of dollars into failing police departments and letting them violate people's civil rights, letting them violate people's human rights, and say, hey, we keep failing and we keep having these same, no matter what analytic we look at, what statistic we look at, we see a huge disparity on how people are getting treated, how people are being treated. And we're going to keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. One of the big things you keep saying here talk about is, well, the police need more training on how to deal with different communities. Shouldn't they be getting that training when they're in the police academy? You mean they go to the academy for as long as they go and they come out and you're saying that we have to give you billions of dollars more to train them. Come on, that sounds like a lot of horse hockey, a lot of hogwash, a lot of BS, a lot of nonsense. Key findings of the report: the NYPD continues to underreport stops. The underreporting of stops has been acknowledged by the monitor team and explicitly identified in NYPD audits. Any assessment of compliance with the court's orders will be impossible unless the NYPD finds ways to ensure that underreported stops are no longer a significant issue. If NYPD's data is not accurate and complete, the monitor cannot find that the city is in substantial compliance with the Floyd order. So, we continue to play these games. Racial disparities remain a prevalent issue. There are still disparities with Black and Latino New Yorkers when the impact of unreported stops is considered. As the estimate of undocumented stops increase, the estimates for racial disparities also increase. The monitor's team review of stops indicates that supervisors routinely approve stops, frisks, and searches that the monitor team and NYPD's own auditing division determined to be improper. So their own team is telling you no. Their own people telling you that, hey, this is improper, this ain't right. Supervisors need to take an active role in overseeing, managing, and when necessary, correcting their officers for improper stops. The court has directed the monitor to prepare an in-depth study on the NYPD's disciplinary systems, including fairness and integrity of the city's policies, practices, and procedures for handling police misconduct during stops. Police misconduct during stops. You can imagine the kind of misconduct we have going on during these stops. In 2013, the Center for Constitutional Rights and Co-Counsel won a landmark ruling that found the NYPD stop and frisk procedures to be racially discriminatory and unconstitutional under the 4th and 14th Amendment. The court appointed a monitor to oversee reforms, including joint remedial process intended to solicit input from directly affected communities and other stakeholders. Man, the community that's affected the most is the Black community, first and foremost. About 70% of the men the people that's wrongly accused and in jail are Black men. The people getting their behinds whooped out there by the police, the bulk of them are Black men. The laws and the policies put into place are for Black men. They're the ones who bear the brunt of the criminal justice system coming down on their neck like George Floyd. And all of this sidestepping and all of this hokey pokey and around and whatnot doesn't make a bit of difference. Until you have real police reform, then you're going to have this keep going on and on and on. I thank you guys for hearing my rant and also listening to this brief report that we had about the NYPD, one of the most crooked criminal justice systems in the entire world, backed up by complete white supremacy. I'm your host, TC, and once again, this is newstoter.com, and this is the News Toter YouTube channel. So please go ahead, like, and subscribe to this channel, and we'll be back to drop more news alerts and news reports in the future. I thank you guys. It was my pleasure. Have a good one.